Well, let me start by asking you to tell me about the evolution of your feminist identity. Tell me about how that all sort of came about, that you became a feminist.
Not an easy question.
Okay.
I guess in my case it was a very gradual process. I, of course, was an undergraduate student in the early 70s when the second wave of the feminist movement was quite strong. However, in Calgary, I would say, as an undergraduate student, I was not involved in the feminist movement. Although I think I always had a kind of independent streak in a way, or I should explain, I was the first in my family to go to university, and I was encouraged to go to university, especially by my mother. And I think I was very influenced by the stories of her life, and she had many stories about experiences where she was not allowed to do certain things because she was a woman or because she was a married woman, and so on. And so I think I had grown up with those stories, and so I was very resistant. Without being a feminist or having a feminist identity, I was very resistant to the idea that I should do particular kinds of things because I was a girl or because I was a woman. So I think in some way that's one reason I was attracted to psychology as a discipline. I was interested in the content, but also I saw it as a science and, as a departure from things like education and nursing, where probably the bulk of my high school female graduating class would have gone post-graduation. So in a sense, I think, the seeds are there. And in graduate... sorry about that.
That's okay.
It's probably not going to sound so nice on the tape. I don't know, that's just going to slip off again.
Is it gotten loose?
I think I maybe didn't. Yeah, that's right. As a graduate student as well, the research I did was not at all feminist related, and in fact when I went to graduate school my intention was to pursue cognitive psychology, which certainly was very mainstream. At that time, of course, it was kind of the new exciting subdiscipline replacing verbal learning, etc. And through various circumstances, although I started working with a supervisor whose specialty was bilingual memory. I ended up shifting to another supervisor who worked on experimental hypnosis, and I worked on hypnotic amnesia, which involved exploring ostensibly memory processes. However, through the hypnosis research, I was introduced more to social psychology as well.
Right, sure. And this was at Carleton, right?
And I was at Carleton, that's right. And one thing that was unique about Carleton at the time was I think it was the only history graduate program in the country. Of course, I had not gone there because of that. But as a consequence, I took a history course as a... I was a real student in the sense that I was interested in a lot of things. So even though I was interested in cognitive psychology and hypnosis, I did take a history course. And in fact, my graduate supervisor was also interested in history and wrote a number of pieces on history of hypnosis.
And who was your supervisor?
Nicholas Spanos. Yeah, he was interested in the Salem witchcraft business and some other historical moments. So I took a history course, and actually it was through the history course that I met Ian Lubeck and Erica Apfelbaum. And also at Carleton, Fran Cherry came along when I was in the first year of my doctoral program. And so I took a course with her on aggression, But of course, she was a very strong feminist, and we talked about many topics related to gender and women. And I wrote a paper for that course on the distinction between aggression and assertiveness in women. So got me reading the literature on, the social psychology of aggression and gender. And at that time, the notable finding was that even when women behaved in assertive ways, or the same ways as assertive men behaved, that they were labeled aggressive. And so there was lots of questioning of this whole notion of empowerment through assertiveness training and so on and so forth. Nice. So my paper was on that debate. Oh. Not a fantastic paper by any means, certainly a student project, but it introduced me to some of the literature that I had not read before. And actually, for a long time, I think I was interested in the world of women through literature as well. Okay. I read, Virginia Woolf, Simone de Beauvoir, eventually both their feminist writings as well as their fiction. Right. And so by the time I finished graduate school, I would say I was sort of ready in a way to become a feminist. Yeah. And in my first year of teaching, I had a one-year appointment at the University of Manitoba, and there I met both graduate students and a couple of faculty members who were feminist-oriented, and had various conversations and whatnot. But it really wasn't, I guess. And so I think gradually I became to identify myself as feminist, and read more and more feminist work. Yeah.